Zippo's a lighter. It's like an American lighter. Yeah.
Zippo is global.
I don't know if it's in Brazil. I don't know if it's part of the culture of Brazil.
Zippo's around for like 130 years. It's got to be in Brazil by now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey. All right.
Just went into the Matrix.
Cool. And then, so how will it work? Like live? Will people be asking questions through here too? That's fine if not, because it might be nice just for us to hang out.
But we probably won't enable it. We'll just keep those questions like in-house.
Yeah, let's just do it here. I think that's better. Yeah. Although you all are at a distance, hopefully this can feel intimate. Josh said I can ask him absolutely anything.
It'd be cool if there was a digital fireplace.
Oh, yeah.
And then I started smoking and flume was closed.
It's over time, right?
Cat walks by.
Yeah, I've never actually had a screen behind like a filming. Usually it does that.
I feel like if you touch it, letters would show up, like Wheel of Fortune.
We're live right now? All right.
We have a couple more that we'll probably walk in over the course of the next 5 minutes or so.
So are we live streaming online right now? Mm-hmm. People who are tuning in are up there? Yeah. All right. Well, welcome, everybody, and welcome everyone who's in the room with us today. My name is Daniel Epstein. I have the privilege of fireside chatting Joshua here at Kiln, and excited to drop in. And is this your first, you said first social experience in like a year and a half?
Pretty much. I mean, there's been social interaction, but nothing this
grandiose.
Public. Yeah. I realized this water bottle has been in my car since the beginning of COVID, and I've just been refilling it for 14
Never
months.
washed it? Never cleaned it?
I mean,
you wash it with water.
I washed it with the water that I put in there.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. I think it's why I haven't had COVID, because of the bacteria.
Yeah. It's been protecting. Yeah.
Science.
Well, I'm excited. So I'm really excited about today's conversation. Joshua is a really good friend. Has been a mentor for our community at Unreasonable. I think at the second Unreasonable Institute in 2010.
Yeah, the frat house.
It was at a frat house where we had a bunch of entrepreneurs all around the world come together, and I brought in about 50 mentors and brought Joshua in because there's a purity about Joshua's approach to entrepreneurship and about creating business as a force for good in the world that I think is relentless and rare. And so today we're going to get into that, but we're going to do the entire backstory because we have an hour, which is not enough time. Joshua is like a Renaissance man with many lives, but it's enough time to, I think, get into the unconventional and explore some topics that maybe Vogue or whoever's covering your story wouldn't normally go into. As you all know, Joshua is founder and CEO of Pangea Organics. I think it is the best soap company on the planet, lotions, lip balm. When I first met Joshua, I was so excited because the hand soap was at the kitchen, and I hadn't met you, but I never cared for soap. And I had used that and felt like this is the best soap I've ever had in my life or put on my hands.
You're like, did you make this?
Yeah, no, I was like giddy when I met you, which is a really weird thing to say. But I think that I've described you a bunch to friends as you're very Jobsian about your product and that it needs to be the perfect product, not just for the customer, but in terms of what's put into it and for the planet. And so we're gonna get into all that. But first, let's just go way back in time because I was rereading your bio, and I was shocked to learn that your first job you had when you were how old?
I was 6.
Yeah.
And I wanted the Inferno transformer.
Oh, nice.
The one that was the fire truck.
Uh-huh.
And my mom said, no way in hell it's $30. If you want it, make the money yourself.
Yeah.
So my 2 brothers had a paper route. And I was like, well, I'm going to get a paper route. But then I found out they don't let 6-year-olds have paper routes. So I cut a deal with my brothers to pick up a separate paper route that I would do under their name.
Did they get commission? How did it work?
No.
No. Oh,
I'm very persuasive.
Yeah.
And I took control of their minds.
Yeah, nice.
And I saved up the money. And one day I came home and I had $31. And I was like, Mom, take me to Sears. And we go all the way to Sears. And I have Inferno in my hand. And I looked at the price and I looked at the money and I said, I'm going to wait till it goes on sale. And it was like the proudest moment of my mother's life.
And how old? You were 6?
I was 6, yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did running a paper route, getting your first job, right, and kind of learning about almost the value of money and work in some way, how did that progress, into your entrepreneurial career?
Like what I did after that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I went from paper route to finding golf balls on a golf course that they hit into the water and selling it back to them.
I did that too.
Yeah, did that. Then that turned into caddying, and then from caddying, I started a fake ID business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you went illegal pretty
went-
quickly. How old are you?
It's a gray area.
Yeah. Fake IDs. No,
I was
how old are you?
13 or 14.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was figured out a way to do it, and it was very, very lucrative.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that went on for a while, and then one day I got a call from the sheriff,
Yep.
and I had sold his son a fake ID. And he said, Joshua, I know what you're doing. Shut it down. And I was like, cool, on to the next thing.
Yeah. Okay. So did you make yourself a fake ID when you were 13?
Yeah. Yeah.
How old were you on your ID?
18.
18.
Yeah.
And that worked.
Yeah. And then, when I was 15, I started getting a little scruffle.
Yep.
And then I bought Zima with my fake ID.
What's Zima?
You remember Zima, the really cheesy malt liquor that you put
you all-
Jolly Ranchers in?
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, I got Zima. And then I was like, Zima sucks.
Okay. So obviously, eventually, we're going to get to like Alpine Provisions, the first plastic-free beauty brand, right? In
We're
history.
skipping 20 years.
No. Eventually, we're going to get there. No. Eventually, we're going to get there. But actually, I want to stay back in time for a little bit. So fake IDs.
Fake IDs, and then
yeah.
I got into the restaurant
Yeah.
business, like waiting tables and bussing tables.
Yeah.
And
What was driving you now that you could have gotten the transformer?
what was driving me was I didn't fit into school, and I knew I needed a way to not be in school.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I missed a point. When I was 11, I became a professional actor in a theater.
Literally?
Yeah, I saw this ad in the paper for child actors needed at a theater in Providence, and it said, that you would need to not be in school, and I was like, and I convinced my mom to take me there, and there were like hundreds of kids trying out for these roles, and all from like theater background, and I had no idea, and I just went in there and started singing,
And it worked?
and they hired me, and I ended up acting at a theater for a year and a half, different plays.
Yeah.
And then my mom was told that I was leaving and wandering the streets of Providence in between plays, and she freaked out. And
Because you were 12 years old?
yeah, but I had already had a fake ID business, so
Yeah,
obviously I could cruise around the
You
city.
were already moving. Okay, so what was it about school, like having that level of awareness at such a young age? What was it about school that didn't speak to you?
Well, I'll tell you the story of the moment I realized it did not fit into school. It was first grade.
Yeah.
Like kindergarten's a party, like finger painting, nap time, cookies. And then you get into first grade and they want you to remember things.
Yeah.
And it was probably about a month into first grade, and my friend Jared, who I had become friends with in kindergarten, he got sick and threw up in class.
Yeah.
And the teacher started yelling at him and threw a roll of paper towels at this kid's head. And I said, Mrs. McLaughlin, like, Jared's sick, why are you yelling at him? Then she started yelling at me, and I said, Mrs. McLaughlin, I know you think you're yelling at me, but you're really just yelling at yourself.
Really, you
And
said that?
they threw me out, and my mom had to come in, and they told my mom, and she started laughing.
Yeah.
And then I got thrown out of a couple other schools after that, and just didn't really fit into school.
Yeah. And it sounds like your mom was an incredible influence on you. Like, what was your relationship like?
I was the youngest of 3, and my 2 other brothers were, more model students and pretty straight and narrow.
Yeah.
And then me.
Yeah.
And I think like my theory was I kept her entertained, and she had already had 2 successful sons.
Yeah. So that was it.
And she's like, and then I have this like entertainment, and he's fun and funny and fun to watch.
There's some parallels. I have 2 older brothers.
Oh,
So
nice!
that's
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, my relationship with my mother is like, I love my mom, and she supported my odd lifestyle, like when I was younger, and like knew I didn't fit in, and she used to have to drive me to Providence for the theater, performances, and and just she bailed me out of jail when I was 17.
Yeah. Wow.
At 4 o'clock in the morning because I was running around this farm area and saw a mechanical nativity set on a lawn and started dancing with the Santa Claus. Drugs were not involved. No,
And the
just
sheriff
kidding. There
took
were
the
drugs.
sheriff. Oh, there were drugs involved. And,
And all of a sudden, the next thing I know, I'm in handcuffs in a jail. And
was
my
it the
poor
same
mother-
sheriff?
No.
No.
No, different town.
Yeah, different town.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't have a rap in that town.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So then I know part of your story. I mean, you dropped out.
Yeah, I dropped out when I was 15 or 16.
Okay.
And I restored a 1973 VW bus, and I found the Grateful Dead.
Oh.
And I was like, my people.
Yeah. And you just traveled around, or
I traveled to a lot of Dead shows, and it was the first time I saw the counterculture, because where I grew up was not the counterculture.
Yeah.
It was the opposite of that, and I didn't know that world existed, and it just opened my mind up to a whole other lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it was very exciting, and I kept working different jobs, and I think when I was 17 or 18, I moved to Vermont.
Yeah.
And I got to Vermont with my dog in the VW bus, which broke down 5 times on the way there. Classic VW bus. And I had never been hiking in my life. I'd never really been in proper mountains, And I went on this trail, and it was like 4 o'clock in the fall, and I kept walking down this trail, and foliage in New England, super beautiful, and me and my dog, and I just sat there, and I was like, this is the first time I've heard silence in my entire life. And it just changed my life. I'm like, I'm a mountain guy now, and moved from Vermont to Block Island to Jackson Hole.
Yep.
And I saved up my money. I was 18 when I was in Jackson Hole, or 19, and I'd never left the country, and I bought a one-way ticket to Costa Rica.
Nice.
In 1997, and spent nights on a beach chasing away poachers with rusty machetes that were trying to steal sea turtle eggs and sell them on the black market, and we would bury them. And we would
Not the poachers. The eggs.
take it as you want.
Care not to comment. Yeah.
And again, I met these people who were traveling all over the world, and I became obsessed with travel. Moved back to Jackson, saved up my money, and I think a year and a half later or 2 years later, I bought a one-way ticket to Bombay.
Yeah.
And I called my mom and I said, I'm moving to Bombay. Dead silence.
Yeah.
And then, she watches CNN, so she's like, this is going to happen to you. You're never going to come home. You're going to get kidnapped. And I was like, yeah, maybe. It sounds like fun.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to come home and visit you before I leave.
Yeah.
And I went home to visit my parents, and she had bought a coffee table book at a yard sale called How to Make Handmade Soap.
Right on.
And I started thumbing through the book, and I was like,
This is
you
not
can
hard.
make soap from oil, and I grew up on ivory, so
Yeah.
that's what I thought soap was, like that
Yeah.
itchy feeling on your skin, and
Yeah.
floats and smells bad. But I had never been to a health food store, never smelled an essential oil in my life, so this light bulb went off. I was like, I'm going to surprise my mom. I'm going to go and buy all this stuff, and we're going to make soap before I leave.
Before you go to India.
Yeah, so I went to the hardware store, bought the lye, bought the goggles, the gloves, went to what was then called, can't remember the name of it. It was Whole Foods ended up buying it, but it was a natural food store in New England.
Yeah.
And smelled essential oils for the first time.
Huh.
And I just remember the first one I smelled was lemon.
Yeah.
And I just filled my entire brain with lemon, and picked out all these things, came home, surprised my mom. We made a batch of soap. We woke up in the morning and it solidified, and I threw 2 bars in my backpack and took off to India the next day.
Yeah,
And so after about 3 weeks in India, I remembered I had the soap that was then dry, and there's these things in India called a bucket shower. You pay 5 rupees, which is like 10 cents, and you get a warm bucket of water to go into the woods and take a shower, which was amazing. And I went in and tried the soap, and I was just shocked that it worked. It lathered, it smelled good, I smelled amazing, I felt amazing. Like, I'm a brand new man. And I didn't think too much about it, but I ended up traveling for 2 years in Asia. Went, India, Nepal, Tibet, China, Hong Kong, Macau, lost all my money in a poker game in Macau, in a casino, and then moved to Tokyo to teach English, but I ended up working for the Yakuza in the red light district selling Rolexes and Louis Vuitton
For those who
bags.
don't know, Yakuza, what's Yakuza?
It's the Japanese mafia.
You worked for the Japanese
Yeah.
mafia.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Your story's insane.
Yasui desu
And
yo
we're
mite
still-
kudasai.
There you go. We're just scratching the surface. Okay, hang on. In Japan, selling illegal handbags.
Well, illegal, again, it's a gray area.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah.
That's a good area. But when did the soap come back into the picture for you?
So after I had saved up money in Japan and all of my friends got arrested, I ducked out of the country and moved to Thailand and got a motorcycle and went up to Cambodia. And at that point, I was definitely having like onset nervous breakdown of just like too much.
So how old are you? You're like 22?
22. And I was sitting on a temple in Angkor Wat in Cambodia, and I was sitting with my best friend Tom, and I was like, I think I'm gonna move to Boulder and start a soap company.
What did Tom say?
And Tom was like, well, your soap's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
He's like, you should call it Pangea. He just kind of rolled off his tongue. He's like, because all the continents.
Yeah.
Because as we were traveling, we realized all these ingredients come from all over the world.
Yeah.
I think we now source from 67 different countries.
Wow.
And I was like, that sounds like a great idea. And I bought a ticket back to the States, went to Jackson, told all my friends I was moving down here, so started a soap factory. And some reason 11 of them thought it was a great idea and followed me down here.
No way.
And
Like as teammates?
no, just like friends. They're like, yeah, it's all movable.
Let's go. Yeah.
And we rented a house on 8th and Hawthorne, and I got a beer keg, and I cut the top off.
Yeah.
And I got a paint mixer, and I started making bar soap and selling it on the Pearl Street Mall.
Like literally in your garage?
Like literally in my garage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And outgrew the garage, got an industrial garage, outgrew that, and got a warehouse. Couldn't pay the rent. We started having all-night raves once a month to pay the rent, which were really, really fun. And it kind of became, the soap factory that had the raves that became Pangea. And Pangea turned into Pangea Organics in 2006. We partnered with IDEO to take all of our branding and sustainability ideas to market. And the company went from like 0 to 11 million in 2.5 years. Wow. And then the 2008 economy hit just, and sent the company into a tailspin. A couple of years later, new investors came in and put an executive team in place, and they burned through several $1 million and bankrupted the company. And then a year later, I bought it back.
Yeah. Okay, there's a lot in there we're going to dig into. So how did you go from in your garage in a barrel, right, selling at the farmer's market, to then an $11 million turnover business in 2.5 years? What were some of the lessons maybe that you learned along the way that you wish you had known when you started, and just how did it happen?
I think a lot of it is putting yourself out there, right, and chasing a vision and not money, so to speak. You hear it a million different ways, but my vision was, I realized that the entire industry was toxic. Like at that point in time, even in Boulder.
And which industry are you referring to?
The cosmetic industry.
Cosmetic, yeah.
At that point in time, even in Boulder, which is at that point was the hippiest of all hippie towns in the country, people would think it was weird that I was selling organic soap. Really? They're like, why would I buy organic soap? I understand organic food, but you can't eat this.
What year is this?
This is 2001, 2002. And I would sit there and explain to them, like, these crops are being grown all over the world. Yeah. 87% of the world's food is grown by women. These women are working in the fields. The fields are being sprayed with massive amount of toxins that are not only toxic for the people and the plants, but also the earth and eventually our water system. Yeah. And every supply chain begins and ends with the earth. Yeah. In every industry, in every product, from all the clothes we're wearing to the things we use to the things we eat to these curtains to these lights, the earth. And that's the way we have to think about the way we consume. And over time, now the organic natural skincare industry is massive, and it's outpacing the rest of the industry. And I think, for me, my motto for myself and how I operate businesses is the fringe predicts the future. Yep. And as an entrepreneur and as a creator and as a designer, as a founder, our job is to create that fringe and then steward it constantly, because it's always moving. Yeah. 3 years ago when I woke up and I said, oh my God, I'm making all this plastic.
Yeah.
I can't make any more plastic. I got to get
You
rid
need
of
the
plastic.
packaging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now my obsession is taking all our brands plastic free because that's the fringe.
Yeah.
And we have to keep
where we have
pushing.
to go.
We have to go. Otherwise, you're just making another thing. You're just
Yeah.
you're just creating like a Me Too brand that's like, oh, I saw that brand and I'm going to create it and just change the colors and the name, but it's the same thing, you know, and that's boring.
Yeah.
It's super boring. The world is full of too many brands that are just like another brand.
Yeah.
And I think that if we
Well
just
put.
stop and think about business as a way to create change and not as a way to create wealth, we can just progress much, much faster as a culture, as humanity.
Yeah.
And we have to because we're running out of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a friend, she says that winning slowly is the same thing as losing. Like we need to do it now.
Yeah.
Right? Which you are doing. So Alpine Provisions, tell us a little bit about that. It's the first, is it the first plastic free?
No, there's lots of other brands, but the vision behind Alpine was I was sitting in Joshua Tree 4 years ago, and I went back to that moment of being in the woods and hearing quiet and realizing that millions of kids will never, ever go on a day hike. You know, we live in Boulder. We can just walk out our door and go on to Sanitas or Chautauqua or go anywhere, and we take it for granted, or at least I was.
Yeah.
And I wanted to create a brand that paid full scholarships to disadvantaged youth to go in outward bound programs because it changed my life. I mean, literally changed my life. And so I thought of a brand that was kind of fun, a little psychedelic, definitely based in the woods and outdoor culture, and wanted to create a brand that was affordable. So everything's under $15. And I wanted to take it plastic free, but as we came to launch, we realized that is a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
So it took us another year and a half to go plastic free, and you know, focusing again on quality, on uniqueness, plastic free, and we launched it, and REI instantly saw it and just rolled it out nationwide.
No way.
First time in 87 years they've
What?
sold hair care or deodorant. Yeah, they are. I wrote them a letter. And I said, here's my history with REI. And in 1997, I was driving my Jeep and my dog across the country. And we were, you know, on a week-long camping trip by ourselves in Olympic National Park and covered in mud. And my dog's covered in mud. And I had never seen an REI before. Yeah. And REI, I didn't know this, but their flagship store had just opened. And I said to myself, I need to go get a raincoat because it's just raining all the time. And I walked in there, and Gore-Tex had built a rain room. It was a giant glass.
I went in that.
Yeah.
I've been in that.
And I was like, this is great. I'm going to try a raincoat and wash my dog. So I go into
You're
the
not
rain
supposed to
room,
do that.
and I'm sitting there with my dog Terrapin in this raincoat, and I just press like thunderstorm, and the entire store is watching me like, yeah. I was like, yeah. And Terrapin's like, get me the hell out of here.
Your dog's freaking out.
Yeah, and after that, I became an REI member,
Yeah.
and I've been a member ever since. I think it's one of the best examples of how a company can grow nationwide and still be true to their ethics and support small brands and sustainability and just sell high-quality products. I think they're amazing.
So I'd love to dig into that, which is sticking to your ethics, because if at some point 2008 hits, right, you're doing really well as a business, as Pangea, 2008 hits, I'm sure you had pressure to change the ingredients or something about the company to make it more profitable, to increase margin, because it's expensive to make products the way you do. Can you just talk through a little bit about that?
Yeah, and so in 2008, when Pangea was one of 3 organic brands in the world, and so I won't mention names, but 2 large big box retailers came to us.
They wanted to buy you, or?
No, they wanted us to go natural and sell in their stores, and it was tens of millions of dollars in sales.
Yeah.
And I said, hell no.
Yeah.
That's a horrible idea.
Yeah.
You know, and then the hotel industry started trying to go green, and the way the hotel amenity world works is there's a couple companies that buy the rights to your branding and your name and your scent, and then they make the product overseas, but it's toxic, and then they make a synthetic version of your scent, and they put it into hotels. And I always laugh when I see people like, oh, it's like this expensive brand. And I'm like, no, it's just crap
That's
from
me.
overseas.
Yeah.
And they wanted to come and buy, they wanted to come and buy our branding and told me what they were going to do. And I was like, no, that's horrible. I would never do that. And then 3 of the biggest CPG cosmetic companies in about 6 months tried to buy us.
Wow.
And I went through the whole dog and pony show because I was fascinated.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I was like, if you bought me, I would just go out and start another brand. So why don't I just stick with what I have?
Yeah.
Because I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between natural and organic, and just your supply chains and the ingredients you use? And
Yeah, natural is fictitious. It's
Yeah.
like a dragon.
yeah, dragons may be real. You don't know.
I mean, what does natural mean? Natural means it has water. That's literally, you put a barn and a cow and a green field on a bag of chips. It's natural, but they can literally have 100 different chemicals in it, synthetic flavorings. You can still call it natural.
Really?
Yeah, it makes no sense to me. And it's the same thing in the skincare industry. Anybody can be natural.
Yep.
It just depends on what your tolerance is for what natural is.
Yeah.
Organic is a little bit different. We all know there's greenwashing in every industry, but organic is supposed to mean that you're using over 70% certified organic ingredients without faking the label, like adding aloe powder to your water so you're up in, And so for me, organic simply means that we're making a high quality product that works, and we're any agricultural product that we're using, if it's available commercially organic, we are buying it. Because to me, it's just as much as about supporting organic farmers all over the world as creating a very safe, environmentally friendly product.
Yeah.
We're not using organic as a marketing term. We're using it because at the core of who we are, we believe that organic is the right way to be growing food for everyone.
Yeah.
Because we're all downstream.
Yep. I think that's something we don't often think about when we're buying something in the stores. You might think about what it does to your skin, but we're not thinking about the farmers, right, who are pulling the ingredients and growing the ingredients. Can you tell us a little bit about how you work with them and what the story of that impact is and how you focus on that?
Yeah, I mean, it gets more and more complicated as we keep growing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, again, it's supporting people all over the world that have decided to convert their farm to organic.
Yep.
One of the stories I love telling is we have a facial scrub that's made with cranberry seeds.
Yeah.
And 6 years ago, I went out there with my friend Kim Johnson, who's a filmmaker, and we sourced them from this cranberry marsh. They're called marshes in the Midwest, not bogs like Massachusetts. And it's way up in Three Lakes, Wisconsin, and it's this 600-acre property. And they look just like marshes, or bogs, but they're called marshes. And we're there at 4 a.m. because we wanted to film the sun coming up. And in the fall, what they do is they run sprinklers over all the cranberry bushes to form ice around the berries so that the berries don't freeze.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of weird, but again, science.
Yeah.
And then they flood the marshes so the berries float to the top, and everyone gets in fishing waders. And I was in there with fishing waders, and I'm helping them push the berries into the conveyor belt. And there was like this old school dude who had been working on this marsh for 30 years, and he told me the story. He's like, this marsh wasn't organic 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And we used to have to wear hazmat suits in a pressurized cabin. We couldn't actually go in the water because it was so toxic that it would actually kill you. And then this huge dude started balling up and telling me that his wife got cancer, and he never thought anything about organic food. And Ocean Spray bought the company that owned that marsh, and the CEO decided to buy this one marsh of the larger assortment of marshes and convert it to organic.
Yeah.
And every farmer on that team, all they couldn't stop talking about how it changed their lives. And this is in the States.
Yeah.
Right? Overseas,
Right here. Yeah.
they're using chemicals that are 10 times worse. I mean, there's a lot of developing countries that still use DDT and grow ingredients that are sold to companies like mine to make products.
It's crazy.
And so, it's stories like that that just keep me driving to find more farmers who have made that commitment. And now the new part of organic is regenerative.
Yeah.
And super exciting movement in the regenerative agricultural movement. And it's kind of like the cruelty-free.
Yeah.
My whole thing is, if it's not plastic-free, it's not cruelty-free.
Yeah, well put.
And if it's not plastic-free, it's also not vegan.
Yeah.
Because 2 to 200 million animals can die every year from plastic pollution. We're dumping 23,000 jumbo jets of plastic into the ocean every year. Since the beginning of plastic, we have put enough plastic into the ocean to cover the moon in a foot of it.
Wow.
And it's not slowing down. I mean,
Speeding up.
yeah, I mean, I remember this moment in the early 80s. Oddly, Rhode Island was one of the first states to have a recycling bin. And I remember the guy bringing the bin to the door, and there was this sheet telling you, oh, you can now like recycle these things. And everyone remembers, maybe everyone in this room, glass ketchup bottles.
Yeah.
You know,
They were awesome.
yeah. And then all of a sudden, Heinz came out in plastic. Oh, it's squeezable.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, you can squeeze things now. and I call it the blue bin lie because they're like, oh, you just, when you're done, just put it in the blue bin.
It'll come back.
It'll come back as another ketchup bottle. It's magic.
Yeah.
They didn't tell us that most plastic never got recycled. They didn't tell us that it could only be recycled twice and then it was landfill.
Yeah.
So on a good year, 7% of the plastic we use in this country gets recycled. Yeah. And it can only be recycled twice and then it's landfill. Yeah. Glass and aluminum, 65% of the aluminum produced in America is still being used today.
Yeah. And it can be upcycled in essence to virgin.
It can be upcycled infinitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Body wash bottle, body wash bottle, body wash bottle.
Yeah.
And it's just, we bought into the convenience. We bought into the lie of everything needs to have a safety seal on it and everything needs to be squeezable and let's just package it in plastic and it's easier and it's cheaper and it's horrible.
Yeah.
And we just need to say no.
Yeah. So you mentioned the word vegan, and I actually like how you put that. Anything that has plastic isn't vegan. You're a vegan, which I know, but you also have miniature fainting goats on your property.
Yeah.
And
Dwarf.
Dwarf.
They don't like the term miniature.
Dwarf. He has dwarf fainting goats and chickens.
And chickens.
So tell us a little bit just about how how that works.
Do you want me to do it through interpretive dance? No, do you?
A little bit, yeah.
I was plant-based since I was 16.
Wow.
Which is another whole hour interview that we can do another time. But I became plant-based. I still ate dairy and eggs. And I had this realization one day that 70% of our thought is repetitive. So if you were able to actually open up an app that tracked your brain all day, I'm sure it's right around the corner, you would realize that 70% of the thoughts are repetitive. And I was meditating for many hours one day, and I realized that of those 70%, the vast majority of those are from two things, regret and remorse. And for the point of this, regret is when you did something you wish you hadn't, and remorse is when you didn't do something you wish you had. And I had this realization that if I spend every moment trying to reduce regret and remorse, I'll have more brain time for
everything else.
For independent thought, for new thought, for new ideas.
Yeah.
And I was eating a cheese plate at my friend's restaurant, and I realized that every time I was eating cheese, I had guilt. I was like, I know that this is horrible. I know it's bad for the environment. I know it's bad for the cows, and never touched dairy again. Never thought about it again. But I was eating eggs from local farmers, and I said, if I'm going to eat eggs, I'm going to have my own chickens because I want to see their whole life and what they do and what they want to talk about in the morning, which is a lot.
Which is a lot.
And so I built this kind of, I call it, it's like the Thunderdome for chickens because I live up in the mountains, 14-foot electric fence, and I got all these chickens, and then 2 years ago I woke up and I was like, I don't eat eggs anymore. And so now they belong to our mutual friends. And all the eggs go to them, and it's amazing because I love having them there. I just don't eat their eggs. And 4 years ago, I was on a boat in Mexico, and I met this guy, and it was a party, And in the middle of the night, we're like on the front of the boat, and he's like, man, I really like you, and so-and-so said you have a farm, and I'm going to buy you some fainting goats. And it's like, okay, middle of the night party talk. It's like, cool.
Cool.
So every time I would run into him, because he lives in Denver, I would say, hey, Ryan, where are those goats?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get them someday. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So 2 years go by, and I'm having a poker game at my house. Legal poker.
Are you getting better at it now since you lost all your money in Hong Kong?
Yeah, I was getting scammed. I'm positive. Someone was pulling some wool over my eyes in that game. Anyway, so the game's going on. It's midnight. And I go, hey, Ryan, where are those goats? He's like, oh, they're in my truck. And I was like, ha, ha, ha. He's like, no, they're in my truck. And we go on the deck, hits the lights on his truck, and there's 2 dwarfs. And I was like, that is one of the most amazing flexes. So not only did he get the goats, he bought all the things goats need, and he waited hours until I said, hey, Ryan, where are those goats? And he told me the other day, he's like, if you hadn't said it, I was going to take them back to my house and take them back to the next poker game until you said it. And I love them. They're amazing. They're dwarf fainting goats, and they're dogs that don't bark.
Yeah.
And they don't chase things. They just hike all over the mountains with me. They have
living a good life.
Yeah, and they kind of like the overlords of the chickens.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Love it. The 14-foot electric fences, to be clear, on the outside of the chicken coop, not the inside.
Yeah.
Very
They have like a quarter of an
like-
acre to run around.
It's
and-
paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice, Joshua. Well, okay, I'll ask one more question that we'll open it up. But I guess where's all this going for you? What if you were to look forward 3, 4, 5 years and envision what's possible and what you want to be achieving through your entrepreneuring? What would you be doing?
So I'm very proud to say that this year all 4 of our brands will be going plastic-free. Pangea is a massive project, and we're launching body care in July, and skincare will come out in September, October.
Incredible.
And then we have a matcha company and a fine fragrance company, which are all going plastic-free this year. And it's just feels amazing.
Yeah.
And the next step after that is going packaging-free.
Right
And
on.
so I can't talk that much about it, but there will be a retail store opening in Boulder where you'll be able to come take any of our containers.
Literally, we were just looking for. Keep going.
Yeah. And it's a system I've been working on for a decade.
Yeah.
And to literally have a completely plastic-free closed-loop system.
Right on.
And I'm very excited about it.
And that's beautiful. How much of this is about shifting the industry versus just the success of your own company? Because you talk about going organic in 2001 when nobody was. Now, almost you go into Target, half the brands are organic, right?
Natural.
Or natural. But like, how are you trying to be a beacon of what's possible to create change, behind you in essence?
So when we started going plastic free, we created new symbols because consumers love symbols.
Yeah.
Because it's easy, you can just turn around and you're like, oh, it's this. So we created a little turtle, and it stands for Life After Plastic, and it's free to use. We don't charge any fee to use it. If you don't have plastic in your packaging, you can use the little turtle.
Cool.
And so as we've been meeting with buyers all over the world, we're like, we don't want to be the only ones with the little turtle. The little turtle wants to be on all the packaging.
Yeah.
So let the little turtle be on all the other packaging. Yeah. All they have to do is get rid of the plastic.
Yeah.
And so for me, that gets me more excited than anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's being the fringe that predicts the future.
Yeah. It's really well put. The fringe that predicts the future. I know it's a small room, but let's give Joshua a round of applause. That's awesome, man. We'll open it up. And I have no idea what time we're at. I wasn't keeping track at all. Are we good? Oh, perfect. 15 minutes. That's what we wanted. Let's just open it up to the room. Those who are tuning in, we're going to keep the questions in here, but I'll just repeat them so that you can hear them. But anybody have any questions, comments, confessions, curiosities? Yeah, please. Yeah. Yes.
What's a fainting goat?
Oh, great question.
Dwarf fainting goat.
This is where the interpretive dance comes in.
Yeah, so
fainting goats are dwarf goats that evolved to realize that they have zero chance of outrunning their predators. So they decided that their brains would actually just shut off and they would play dead for about 11 seconds because most predators need the chase.
When they get scared? Is that how it happens?
They get scared. So I have 2 goats. One is called Check because I want him in a poker game. Check. And the other one is called Tax because I get a tax break for having her. And Tax, Check does not faint anymore, but Tax If I like shut the door too loud, she's just like. I mean, I've seen this poor girl like roll off of tables. And
Oh, no.
It doesn't hurt them. It's just the weirdest thing in the world. And you can all go home and type in fainty goat on YouTube and go down the rabbit hole till 1 in the morning. And I promise you will be entertained. This one woman in the Midwest has an adult male fainting goat that, you know the game kids play, The Floor is Lava?
Yeah.
This goat thinks that the entire lawn around the goat's barn is lava. And the woman goes out there on the phone in the morning, and the goat's like at the edge of the barn, just staring at the grass and doesn't want to go on the grass. And then she puts the food, and it just goes onto the grass and just drops down every day. And then gets up and realizes the grass
And
is
they're
not
fine.
lava. They're fine, yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
I know. I never do it on
Kinda
purpose,
sad,
and I don't
kinda.
let anybody else do it on purpose because I think that's horrible. But
Yeah.
it is very.
But they're
entertaining.
delightful.
They're
Yeah.
delightful.
Yeah. Great question. Yeah. And maybe introduce yourselves actually when you ask a question.
Hi, my name is James Edwards. Curious, okay, so you're going plastic free. Are you creating your own packaging? Did you partner with somebody? I mean, there's not a lot of options on the market, so how are you solving that?
And maybe can you, or I'll repeat the question just for people
Yeah.
tuning in. So question, James?
Yes.
Yep, James asked as Joshua is going plastic free on packaging, there's not many people who are doing it. So how are you sourcing the packaging?
Yeah, we're definitely not creating it because that would be 10 times more work.
Yeah.
But we find, like all day today, I spent talking to co-packers that make wipes, which are, I've never bought a wipe in my life, but it's
What's a wipe?
huge. You know, it's like the
Like
wet
for makeup.
towelettes.
The kind of thing?
Remember in the 80s, if you went to Gut Barbecue and they gave you that little napkin to like wipe your face?
Oh, they
off?
have that. Yeah.
Little wet naps.
Yeah.
They're all made in plastic.
Wow.
And guess what? In the 80s, they were made in paper and aluminum liners. And so today I spent all day talking to the biggest wipe manufacturers in the world to take it plastic free. And
Yeah.
I will convince them to do what I want.
It's awesome.
Sort of proselytizing to other
Yeah. So the idea is, you know, you create this idea and you have to pitch it to a big manufacturer that this is the future. And I say, you know what, you can partner with us and here's all the retailers we're in and you're going to become the go-to. And if you do this for us, everyone's going to be calling us, asking us where we got X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And we're going to push them to you for being a pioneer because you are now the fringe that predicts the future.
It's awesome.
And it works.
Yeah.
You got to get past
And
the
it's true.
salesperson, and then
Yeah.
you got to get to one of the executives, but then it does work. It's a little pulling teeth,
Yeah.
but the plastic conversation is massive right now.
Yeah.
Gen Z,
People know.
they don't want plastic. You know, they have been swimming in plastic, and they're over it. And so it's been a little bit easier than it was in 2001.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What retailers are you in?
So Alpine is in REI, it's in Pharmaca, it's in Natural Grocers, it's in 700 other retailers nationwide.
Yeah.
We're going into our first European chain later this summer.
Yeah.
And it just keeps growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Great question. Yeah, questions?
I have a question. My name's Allison.
Hi, Allison.
I was curious, and I think I lost it at some point kind of along the conversation, but how long have you been like localized in Boulder and the surrounding area?
I moved here, or do you want to ask me the question again?
How long, Joshua? No, that one, if you just answer, they'll get it. Yeah. When did you come to Boulder?
I
Yeah.
moved here in 2001 from Cambodia.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was just curious if you think there's elements of your brand that were influenced, or even the evolution of your brand influenced by you living here. And
That's a cool question.
In what ways, if any?
Obviously, like Boulder, it still is, but it used to be the hub of the natural foods industry. It was not and never will be the hub of the cosmetic industry. But it was very helpful to have a lot of the originals of the natural foods industry to steward me as I was growing. Yeah. But other than that, I moved here with the idea that I was starting an organic cosmetic company. Yeah.
This question ties into Kilm a little bit, but do you know Verity Noble with Nude Foods, and she's working out of here now?
I don't think so.
We need to connect you.
Oh yeah, no. Waylon introduced us.
Yeah, good. Okay.
The bike delivery.
Yeah,
makes
bike
it-
delivery.
Yeah. We're
Zero
talk-
packaging.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're talking to them about Castile soap. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry.
I need to do that. Yeah. Cool.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you are very intentional and are leading the plastic-free movement revolution
Mhm.
with some other incredible people like that. I want to know if you have like tips or just major insights that you have learned along the way that if you could communicate to the entire world, like you would be sure that they would listen to. What would be these few things that you would like everybody to know?
So the first thing. Oh, do you want to ask?
No. Just summarize it, then you got it. If you were to broadcast the message
So
to everyone.
one of the ways to understand how bad the plastic problem is for 1 month, anything that you use in your house, whether it's food or iPhone charger, whatever, that comes in plastic, wash it out, put it on your living room floor. And type A, you're going to lose your mind pretty quick. And I did it, and I
Wow.
thought, I cook all my own food. I buy mostly produce. You get to a point where the stickers and the rubber bands on the kale start driving you nuts. But if you do that for 1 month, I guarantee you that you eliminate at least 50% of the plastic in your life. Because it's all stuff like we probably don't need. The convenience foods, the things that are pre-made. I mean, you've all gone to the store and seen like fruit cut up in a plastic bin. And you're like, is the convenience of this cut up kiwi worth having a clamshell on Earth for 10 million years? No. It's definitely not worth that. I will teach everyone knife skills if they want it.
Yeah.
But we've gotten to a point where it's just so common to grab lunch in a clamshell or a salad in a clamshell and then throw it away, and where does it go? Scientists are saying that we eat a credit card of plastic a week.
Yeah. Because it's in our food.
They're finding microplastics in raindrops. It's in fish. It's in all the food we eat. It's in our ground soil. It's in our water. It's bananas. It's in our bananas. And it's got to stop. We have to.
Yeah.
The only way to turn off the faucet is us just saying no.
Yeah.
We just got to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just along those lines, that's an awesome practice. Just to do that month.
Yeah.
We should do it if you let us.
We should do it and just show photos every day.
That'd be like how.
Live stream garbage.
Right. Well, you said you'd cut out at least 50%. Right.
Yeah.
100% is really hard. Are you 100? Are you?
I was 100%. I was 80% before COVID, and then all the bulk bins got shut down, and now they're coming back.
Yeah.
Once you start buying mostly bulk and produce, number one, you feel amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the no packaging diet. You're going to lose 10 pounds if you need to, like I did.
Yeah.
And you're just eating healthier.
Yeah.
And you start like doing food prep.
Yep.
So you're not just, I'm just going to go grab a thing like a salad and a clamshell. Or you start looking at it as it's dirty.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like you're handing that plastic that you just ate a salad for 12 minutes to the next 20 generations of humans.
Yeah.
It's really crazy, but that's actually what it is. It's not fiction.
Yeah.
It's fact.
Science.
It's science. It's more science.
It is.
So every time you use plastic, you're like, I'm giving this. This is my gift to the next 20 generations. Like, if you have children, hand it to your kid. You're like, I bought this for you.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. No, but it is that scary, right? And it is that real.
Yeah.
And is that what I was getting at is if people could change one thing that would be kind of accessible to them in terms of eliminating plastic, would that be by bulk or?
Water bottles and coffee mugs are
Yeah.
like low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you got to get there. That's your
Yeah.
that's your baby step, and that is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
If you forgot your coffee mug, don't get coffee.
Yeah.
Punish yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, truly.
Seriously, then you won't do it again.
Yeah.
Like, I was tired all day. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Remember your coffee mug.
Yeah, please.
I have a question, just it's Lara, Dorothy.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Laura.
I have a question, just so you go to the bulk section.
Yes. Are we going together? Okay, great. I'm just trying to build the image in my head.
Yeah.
Put canola.
Yeah.
Whole Foods.
Yep.
And there's a plastic bag or there's a plastic container.
Oh, you want the solution? I have it.
Bring your glass.
You go to the coffee bean section and you get one of the coffee bags. And then you write the number on the coffee bag,
You solved the problem.
and they always think it's coffee. You're like, no, that's granola. I'm like,
They're
oh,
like,
that's such
okay.
a cool idea. And then the person behind you goes, oh, I wish I had done that. I'm like, yeah, you use all that plastic. And you shame them publicly.
Get on the intercom. But that's the right question.
Yeah, and
That
then
happens.
guess what?
Real thing.
You're gonna start seeing all of these bulk sections are now putting paper.
Yeah, starting.
Yeah,
And just what about blueberries? Strawberries?
It's a great question. Yeah.
this is a whole other talk.
Yeah.
No produce ever wants to be in a plastic bag.
Yeah.
The idea that there's those thin plastic bags in produce makes no sense. I'm like, I always ask people, why are you putting it in that? They're like, oh, to protect it. I'm like, it was grown in dirt. Like, what are you protecting it from? Just take it home and put it in the little drawer and like eat it and call it good.
Yeah.
And I see people with like 100 plastic bags. I'm like, are you protecting them from each other? Are they gonna get into a fight in your bag? Or what's happening? I honestly don't know. Berries you should only eat in season. The berries that are in plastic clamshells are usually coming from Latin America. They're out of season. That's why they have to be in plastic. They should be coming in those beautiful molded fiber.
Yeah.
Little, whatever you call those things.
Things that are
Quart size.
compostable.
Yeah.
Great things. Yeah.
Like that's when they're fresh. They're put
That's how
into
you know.
like, and you see them everywhere, like in the summertime. Yeah. But things that are in clamshells are generally not in season.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big part of it. Is things
And
that-
what I do is I buy a ton of them in season and then I freeze them.
Yeah.
And you put them in a reusable plastic bag and you close it all the way to the end. And then you stick a metal straw in the end and you suck all the air out and then you seal it. Another kitchen tip for you.
That was a great question, actually. Yeah. It's awesome. Any other questions?
I actually have
Yeah,
one
World
more.
War II. You go though.
I mean, you are the founder of the organization, and
Yeah.
you lead the values that your organization is, working so hard to achieve and to be. How do you make sure your team does that? Like, do you? Like, how important is it for your team to lead those values?
No.
Or, it's
No.
impossible,
If you're not leading by example and inspiring people, then you're not doing your job. I mean, I'm not going to police.
Yeah.
Nobody else on my team is vegan. It's not like I
Yeah.
call them at 3 o'clock in the morning and be like, what'd you have for dinner last night? I'll see you at the all-staff meeting. We're going to talk about this. No, I mean, I have my own values. I hope to inspire other people, even if it's one little thing.
Well, that's what you're doing with the company, which is it's aspirational and inspirational branding and products, right? Where you tried Pangea, and I was like, "This is the best soap I've ever had." I didn't know any of the ingredients, anything about
Now
it.
you think about me every time you shower.
Now I think about you every time I'm. No, I don't. That's not true. That's not true. Maybe with a little affection for the aluminum, but that's weird. A lot of people think about you when they're showering.
Yeah, I hear it all the time. People, I see them in a cafe in the morning. I was just thinking about you this morning. I'm like, in the shower. How'd you know? Come on, soap.
But to your whole point, you're not harping really on
I like
responsibility.
That you point to my fictitious
Yeah,
person.
it's a,
You're not.
yeah, but it's
Right, Daniel.
you're imagining and then creating a better future that people then want to be a part of. You're not
Yes.
forcing people out of the current thing
Yeah.
that they're in.
It's
Yeah.
like that. What is that Buckminster Fuller quote?
Yeah. Which one? There's a lot.
It's something like paraphrasing. To change the world, you create a new system that makes the old system obsolete.
Yeah,
And
it's just better.
since we launched Plastic Free Alpine in November, the amount of texts and emails I get of people just showing me their shower, like their shower is no longer these weird plastic bottles of them, it's just aluminum, and they're like,
Yeah.
I'll never go back.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't physically go out
Yeah.
now and buy a plastic body wash bottle.
Yeah,
And I'm hoping everyone watching us right now is
That would
having
be
that
the
same
norm.
guilt.
yeah.
Because guilt is the bedrock of our marketing platform.
That is not true. It's not true. No, guilt doesn't work though.
No, it
It's
doesn't.
Like it
No,
actually
people
doesn't.
have to want to make a change, and then once
Yeah.
they do,
Then they
then
feel the difference,
then
and
they
they don't
feel
want to
the
go back.
difference. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So last question is just, if we want to be a part of the tomorrow that you're creating now,
Mhm.
like how can we support? How can this room? How can people tuning in? How can anybody get involved?
I mean, number one, like if there's tons of like food products and things that you're buying, the best way to get a brand to convert is actually direct messaging them
Yeah.
or politely commenting on their Instagram post. Don't be the jerk.
Yeah.
because you just
They'll
delete those
they'll
people.
just turn it off.
Yeah, just say, like, hey, I'm a devout customer of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm now going
great.
plastic free, and I would love it. Brands listen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then go home tonight and buy several $100s worth of Alpine. Those are the 2 ways of supporting the fringe that predicts the future.
Let's do it both.
Everything else doesn't actually make any sense.
No, that's it. That's it. Just science. Joshua, this was awesome. This was fun. It's strange being in COVID and we can't get closer together, but you still made it intimate. You brought your full
We're
self
6
to
feet
it.
apart.
We're 6 feet apart, literally. And let's just give Joshua one more round of applause. Thank you, Killen.
So much fun. I can't believe this is the first time we've done this.
Why can't we hang out and hug and have a drink and sit by a fire, though? But yes.
Because I'm in ketosis.
Yeah, Joshua's in ketosis. Yeah. This was awesome. But thank you for hosting Allison and for making this possible.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I think.
We have some samples of Alpine Provisions.
Oh, yes.
So some kombucha. So please try them out. Thank you. Support Joshua.
And all of that is plastic-free packaging in the Alpine, of course, and it's really, really good product.